be breaking down barriers. How do we create accessible digital experiences for everyone? So my name is Solomon Rotimi, and I'm a product designer based in Abuja, Nigeria. I am building a very nice feature for digital identity with an amazing team at Unstoppable Domain. I creating illustrations. I love watching anime, and I like to stay up to date with most of the latest trends on YouTube. What's your favorite YouTube content creators? So diving deep into today's topic, it is known already that I don't know if it's known already, but I'll just say in digital we are in that the digital age, accessibility is really important, and technology is growing really fast in rapid growth in technology, and it's essential that we try and design products that can be used by everyone, regardless of what kind of ability you have. And by ability, it's not just only on the side; it can also be those that have disabilities too. And that's why we want to talk about accessibility. Um, we are going to look at how we are going to break down the barrier and allow lots of people to experience digital products that we build. So just just to A11Y means accessibility, and the reason for this short form is because accessibility is a very long word, and between the first A and the last Y, there are 11 letters in between. So A11Y. All right. For a brief definition, accessibility is it refers to design digital products that can be used by with it's actually made that to be much clearer here. But it's also about creating products that are usable and accessible to everyone, regardless of their ability. Definitely, if you're creating it for everyone, you're going to create for people with disabilities. So that's what accessibility is in general. Just trying to make sure that everybody in your thought process when you're creating or designing products. And by designing a product that everyone can use, regardless of their ability, you can create a more inclusive world, which is what we are all trying to achieve to ensure that lots of people can enjoy the beautiful things built, or beautiful or beans. It doesn't matter what, at least let's be able to use it. And it's very interesting to know that there are about 1 million people in Nigeria that are living with some form of disability, and this was recorded as at 2020. So just imagine how it's going to be if you convert a portion of 27 million to active users that can use your platform. This is a large pool of users that you can bring into whatever digital product you are building. So we are missing a lot by not creating accessible digital experiences. So try and create digital, try and create more accessible digital experiences. Why is accessibility important? We have uh, three main reasons why accessibility is important. A legal accessibility, a business benefit for designing a product, then for a better experience. It is very interesting to note, right? In some countries, if you do not build a product, you can be sued for it. You can face this of for building a product that cannot be used by people with disabilities or kinds of people. So that's why it's a legal requirement, and it has been passed in some kinds of, like the American with Disability Act, DA, and also a section 5 in the that this one is based in UK, so they have a law that they can actually persecute you for not following this law as one of a digital products and serving the masses. The next importance is business benefits. You have a large pool of people that you can tap into if you build more accessible products. Obviously, imagine, based on the numbers I just shared, imagine converting a portion of 27 million people into users. That's the business benefits to you as an owner of a company or any digital product out there. And then, killer user experience, obviously. You have accessible products. It means you are very intentional about how you are going to design that product to make it accessible. So designing accessibility improve the overall user experience. Imagine designing a feature where like your application has very clear copy. The colors you're using has rich contrast. It's going to be enjoyable for everybody because if you can make it accessible for disabilities, it's going to be actually usable by even those that have good abilities. So understanding the users now. So this and that point I would like to touch. It's crucial to understand the needs of the different user groups that you want to design your products for, including those with disabilities, obviously. So in order to create accessible digital products, we need to lots of information about who we're designing for. Depending on who you are designing for, you tailor your experience to fit that particular user group. And if you are going to do this, it's nice to understand what are the needs of these users. And let's say the kind of people you're designing for are going to be aged people. You know, most likely they have some form of visual impairment, and you can design your product to cater for those that have visual impairments. Some users need to help you to know who to design for because you can't necessarily solve all accessibility problem, but you can try to some extent to satisfy a particular group of users. For example, let's say you're designing for a group of people who have visual impairments. You will need to have high contrast color and clear language. And if you incorporate this feature design in various user group, you are going to create more accessible and usable products for everyone. Yeah, moving on. Some of the best practices for accessibility. So, as designers, generally, you need to have an idea of this is a very large extent, not only for accessibility reasons, but to improve yourself as a designer and to be able to be confident to talk about the fact that you can consciously create an accessible digital experience. So some of the examples are color contrast, font size, short text and clear language, copy, sufficient time for user input, and then descriptive labels and lots more. For color contrast, we have some color checker tools aid in creating good products that have high contrast. So you don't need to design blindly because we have these tools to aid you to design more properly. So I have two examples here of a design that have good contrast and another one that have bad contrast. So in this first part here, if you notice, this is like a gray color, and also this is a gray color. The difference between these two is that this is basically black, but has opacity, so it blends with the background to create more contrast that you can look at, yet not a blindly looking black color. And this second one here, we have contrast. And in this bad contrast here, we just have gray. So let's say you're using hash 888. So this is like the gray color here directly on this light green background. So it doesn't provide much contrast to tell somebody that, yay, you have created a meal plan. Successfully, you have created a meal plan. So it doesn't work well in this case. And for font size, there are different things you need to look at font size. So think about who you are going to design for. Think about who is going to see your design and what kind of vibe do you want to give off. If you are designing for a younger generation, um, to a large extent, you know, the ability to see much smaller text. But then that doesn't mean you have to design to like to design things that are very tiny. That's why you also need to make sure that your font is easy to read, even if it's small and blurry. So what you need to do is to test on devices. What I mean by test on devices, if you are designing, if you are designing for mobile, you can simply use Figma Mirror and then mirror your design. Try and look at how it's going to be represented in live form. And if you can look at this thing in the actual form, you will know if some of the fonts you're designing with, like some of the font size, you can see if it's really tiny. On Figma, you may just be carried away with the beauty of your design and the fact that you are zooming in close, so you may not really gauge how well your. But if you view it on an actual device, you can tell if you are designing something nice or if you are designing physically. So tests on devices. Also, if possible, get others to look at the design and try to get their honest opinion to know if what you're designing works well or it doesn't work well. Keep in mind people who might have trouble reading it, so try and help them. Moving on, art text. So um, I don't know if most of you are aware, but when it comes to development, they usually have this aspect of the code where they describe what an image is. So an alt text is just a brief description of an image or graphics that is provided in text format. That's what an alt text is. Um, when you're designing, possible if you have the time constraints involved, you can also add the alt text for the image to your engineers to work on. So there are good ways to provide alt text and there are bad ways to provide alt text. Alt text are just meant to be brief and they should be able to describe what the image is. And the reason for the alt text is for those with visual impairment. Using screen readers, and screen readers can't read images, so they will read the alt text, which is a description of the image. Those with visual impairments can listen to what the image is about and try and get an understanding of of where they are and what they are looking at. So in this case, we have this guy here. So a good alt text is man sitting of a blue wall. It describes the basic thing you're looking at. There's a man, he's sitting in a cart, and he's in front of a blue wall. You don't need to describe what he's wearing, if he's putting on a shoe, a watch, if the cat has tires, or what is the color of his hair, or is he looking at the audience or whatnot. So give brief description for your alt text, basically. Then the next is clear copy. Clear copy is important. It is very, very important, especially in products like blog, where you read a lot, or not even blogs and article, even as simple as buttons. If you have clear copy, it will go a long way because if a person with visual impairment is using a screen reader to look at your site or to browse through your site, copy you can tell them what actions to take. If it's to get started, they will know that they are in the place where to get started with your product. So those clear copy will aid you in making a much accessible digital experience. Yeah, moving on, sufficient actions. Basically, what this means is try and understand what your page is about, and then will page require a particular time to complete the action. Maybe you are using sessions on your page and check out. It will be helpful if you can be more considerate for those that have maybe mobility issues. Take time to They have to take time to browse through the content and understand where they are and what actions they have to take, and then really take those actions, like inputting details in a form. So it's not really nice to tell them that their time is expired on the to log in again all over again because they have spent too much time. A lot of people already start fixing these issues in most of the modern use. So that's a good thing, but it's important to just note that this is a key principle in terms of keeping up with accessibility. So next up, as when we are designing, it's important to keep in mind that accessibility should be taken into consideration from the beginning of your design process. You shouldn't start considering accessibility in the middle or when you're done. Your accessibility should start right from when you start thinking of designing the product. And that's why we talked about understanding the user's need. Because this is something you have to do when you're researching about your users, who you are designing for. If and you keep the fact that you want to design an accessible product, you'll be able to understand your users and start planning to create accessible digital experiences from the get-go. When you're also designing, try and involve people with disabilities or people with issues in the user testing problem, in the user testing phase. This is because you'll be able to get more feedback that can help you for accessibility. A product that has good usability is going to perform good amount of testing and then try to get feedback from your users and know much to improve on your product and what you need to do and what barriers you need to break to make sure you provide an accessible product. So what are some of the tools and resources you need? I do not know if they are I don't know how tools and resources are out there, right? I was able to look for two that I know are working well and are good and can help you to see if what you're designing is accessible or not. So the first one is from colors.co, and that's the contrast checker in colors.co. And then the next is accessibilitychecker.org. So these two guys will help you to understand, to check and test if you are you get for your font size and the likes. Testing on your device will help you. But these two resources, colors.co and accessibilitychecker.org, will help you. So just to look at what this is about, this is colors.co, and I know that we have seen a lot of designs that have white on yellow. I know I have seen some of them, and some of your favorite designers do this also. So let me just let you guys know that a lot of your favorite designers are breaking accessibility issues, probably including some of you here listening. So white on yellow is white on yellow is bad. As you can see, it has a very poor accessibility score. So don't use white on yellow. Please don't use yellow. Black on yellow is much better. It may not look fine, but help people that have visual impairments. Thanks and God bless. Moving on. Accessibility checker. So I tested fit.com on this accessibility checker, and lo and behold, uh, they are not totally issues as well. So their score is 61%, whereas accessibility score has to be 75%. So they still have some issues to fix to make sure that their website is fully accessible. But the truth is, accessibility is not easy, but we have to try and do our best to create much more accessible experiences. And accessibility checker not only aids you to check accessibility, but it also helps you to read on documents about it. So some of the laws like the Section 508, ADA, WCAG 2.1, the accessibilitychecker.org. So check out accessibility checker. Oops. And check out accessibility checker. Try and read up on accessibility. Um, yeah, so in summary, I don't know, in summary, accessibility is crucial for digital experiences. So try and design products that are usable for everyone. Also, by creating accessible digital products, we can break down these barriers to create a more inclusive digital world. And as product designers or upcoming product designers or listening, it's advisable to try and learn how to create more accessible designs. I like the opportunity that I got to share this little with you. I'm grateful about that. Yeah, so thank you so much. And if you have any question, so you can leave the questions in the chat, or I don't know how it's going to be, but well, this is the question session, so feel free. Don't ask questions that's too hard. Sure. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Rotimi, for the session. Um, yeah, it was quite insightful. I have a question though, but then I would want to say that for everyone on the session, you could drop your question. Well, you could drop it in the general chat section, or you could also add it up to the Q&A section, which is just beside it. Um, my question is, so when you showed accessibility checker, mine has actions. Okay, so I mean, doing a bit of following up with accessibility and all of that. That's because I took a, was it a web development course? I can't remember. Anyways, so what I do is when I see a very fine looking website or the interactions are mad and all of that, the next thing I do is go to is it web.dev or something, then check for the performance, accessibility and all of those. And then I get to see a 56, a 56, 40 something. I'm like, oh wow, this fine looking site is breaking all the rules. Now my point is I mean, to be fair on those that we're designing for, that's those with disabilities and all of those, doesn't mean we have to now tone down on a lot of things that would have made us, I mean, bad as design because we want to design for accessibility. At the end of the day, we just get up having a white and I mean all those plain looking sites and no interactions,
Yeah,
boring sites and all of those.
yeah, facts. I get you. That's something I was thinking about for a while. But then accessibility design doesn't mean boring. I saw this somewhere on IXDF. So creating accessible design doesn't mean you have to create a boring design. Um, accessibility is more than just what a designer needs to do. The reason why I didn't too deep into accessibility is because it's not only the job of a designer, accessible design, right? But then for the part of designers, what I shared is just some of the brief things we need to. The other aspect of accessibility has to come from the direction of the engineers. These engineers have to also follow principles, which is covered in WCAG 2.1, and those are more code intensive. For example, we are mentioning something about designing nice interactions and having beautiful designs, but then when you have accessibility issues, why it has poor accessibility issues is not necessarily because of the design, but because of how developed. What I mean is, when screen readers are looking through a web page, it checks to be able to determine what to read, where to pause, and stuff like that. So, for example, breaking down barriers is in web development. They have stuff like H1 tags, H2 tags, and the rest. So if you code some of these designs with those specific tags, screen readers will not be able to know the heading or if this is a paragraph text, and it can break the whole testing for accessibility, and then somebody with visual impairments will have trouble browsing through the site because the screen reader will not be able to aid them to go through this properly. You get right. So this is the issue that they're having. So to break the barrier, we have to also involve engineers in the, and I don't know who's going to encourage the engineers, if it's the designer that encourage the engineers, or if it's I don't to be a general discussion on accessibility with maybe the whole company so that they can do all these things together and then talk about accessibility, discuss the various roles that each of the stakeholders in the process of creating the product is going to do to make sure the product is indeed accessible. So that's my short answer.
Okay, all right, thank you. And we have two questions in the chat. I'll take them one after the other. The first is from Alejandra Garcia. Is how can I start to be more emphatic or emphatic? Okay, when designing, are there groups that can guide me in testing products? I want to assume that word meant is meant to be empathetic. I'm not so sure, but then if you can get a hold of the question, I think you can provide an answer.
Yeah. How can we be more empathetic or empathic? Basically, I feel um, when you want to empathize with your users, so it starts from the early design process. If you're talking about groups to guide, I'm not necessarily sure if there are groups to guide in testing, but then let's start from the first part, which is empathizing with to empathize more when designing. Or you need to understand who you are designing for. So empathizing is just like put yourself in the shoes, and there are various ways to empathize more in terms of designing. One crazy way will be to within itself. So let's say you are designing a product for an airline and you want to make it so that people that come to board a plane can know when their plane is going to board. If you have a problem, you can put yourself in the shoes directly by going to the airport and try and test these things by yourself. But that's expensive. Another way is to get somebody that have experienced this and then talk to them, get what they felt through that process of boarding the plane, and then you can honestly gauge um, how they feel. You can also learn more from their body language, where they pause when they speak, pain where they speak, to understand where their pain points are, what they enjoyed in the processes, and what they didn't like. You can use this to be more empathetic or to empathize more with with your users. So understanding your users' needs more carefully will empathize more and then give them the best experience. Also in terms of ability, if you can speak to those people that face legit accessibility issues, maybe those folks that have disabilities, you can talk to them and then um, consciously try to understand what they feel when into a particular product, and then note down the pain points and try to deliberately solve them. And also, are there groups that can guide you? Like I said, I'm not really sure if there are groups that can guide you, but within your small cycle, you can test. You can test. But but I'm not really sure best it would be to test to a large extent for those with accessibility or deep accessibility problems. But if you can get people, then it would be awesome to test with them. Right?
Okay, Favor says, what do I do when I try to prioritize accessibility in my design, but stakeholders disagree because of how it eventually looked or felt? Alejandra says, thank you. Amazing, thank you.
Yeah, you are welcome. And to favor, the prayer is that you don't have somebody there to do OGA centered design. So hopefully you have stakeholders, and it is your place as a designer to communicate properly. It's your place as a designer to communicate properly the intentions of your design. We are not just we are solving problems. So let's say you are working through a design with a stakeholder. It's nice you have done what you want to do for accessibility. They won't notice that if you don't explain things for your design. So you don't just need to tell what you have designed, but you also need to tell why you took the your design. And if you can explain to them some of the importance of accessibility and why in compliance with some accessibility reasons from your design point of view, except the company wants to fail or deliberately don't want to meet accessible reasons, then they will choose to ignore it. But then, if they are going to ignore it, then it has to be a very good trade. Maybe they have some business objective they want to work on, and they cannot be totally accessible because the current time they are in their product life cycle will not allow for all this. Then it's probably excusable to some extent, and then you can probably you want to design or maybe the future iteration of the design should focus on solving accessibility. Make sure you note why you want to do this and the benefits that is going to give not only to the users but to the business. Um, to be very honest, businesses want to make profits and they will want to look for every means to make profits. So if you can give them your design is going to solve um, or where your design is going to improve the business as well, then that convince them to go down the path of the righteous. Yep.
I think Favor's question is somehow this question, but I would read it in case you have something else to add up. It says, I know how important accessibility is, but in a company where accessibility isn't a norm, how have you successfully tried to sell accessibility to the stakeholders?
I'm still trying to sell it though. I'm still trying to sell it. It's not like I said, it's not really easy. And most people are now aware of some of the deep accessibility issues. They just want to ship product out there. Uh, One of the ways I have done it, or which I'm still doing, is to consciously mention the fact that what I'm doing is solving accessibility issue. You can see breaking down barriers, right? The reason why we make this design like this and have it to be in this size is because we have noticed that most of our users are of so and so age bracket. What is popularly known with people in this age bracket is that they might have visual impairments with some of our users. That is why the reason we made this heading this big is to those set of people to be able to use our websites much easily. If they can use this our website much easily, they'll be able to go down the path to make use of the key features from our products, which will in return bring us more value, give us more like you get a win-win situation. So it's just to consciously try to let them know that what you are doing aiding accessibility um, purposes and then why it's going to be beneficial to the business. So it's not like a big hold like a seminar with the stakeholders and start telling each of them, do things that are accessible, do things that are accessible. You have to do it small, small. And if you have good managers that can vouch for you and push forward, that would be helpful too. But this is the only idea I have at the moment. They might, but for now, this is what is in my head.
Okay, thank you. Favor also says thank you for your response to the question, and Chinedu reacts with a thumbs up. My final question is this. There's a time I saw on your LinkedIn you took a course on accessibility. I don't know if you would love to share the course. I mean, I don't know if it's free or paid for whoever is interested and wants to up on accessibility, learn more. So you could just share and maybe you can search it out. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Let me just see if I can pull that up real quick. So the course I'm taking is on Interaction Design Foundation, and it's called Accessibility: How to Design for All. It is paid. It is not free. That's just the problem. But if you are interested, and it's not really expensive, get started with Interaction Design Foundation. I've dropped the link below. It's not really expensive to start interaction. And what's interesting is that when you subscribe once, you have 1 year, 1 year access to all their courses, much more than accessibility. So I think last I checked, it was $120 per year. So that's, yeah, it is fair. I think it's fair, and you can check this course out. It's really interesting, and yeah, they talked about a lot of interesting things there. So try and remain blessed.
Okay, thank you, Rotimi, for the session, for the question, the answers, the responses, and also for the course. I'll definitely check that out. I hope everyone, I mean, a couple of folks here to check as well. And you could also search on YouTube for some, I mean, snippets, short videos on accessibility to learn one or two. It was an insightful, amazing session. I recorded it, so in a matter of hours, it should be up on our YouTube channel. And everyone that registered would also get a link to the, I mean, to an email with a link to the recording for you to, I mean, check sometime later. On our YouTube channel, we've had recording of previous sessions with a visual, live visual design session. We've had with a couple of arts and all of those. So you could check it out and then see topics on prototyping, on user research, on user experience, on I think there's one on negotiation with CH who Adaize. I mean a couple of those you'll find out. And then to become your way sometime next month with another session. Stay blessed, as Rotimi would say. Rotimi, thank you for your time. And thanks to everyone that joined in. I could see some of our friends from HNG, Fola, Somto, Sadiq, Mayor, Favor. And then Alejandra, thank you for joining us. Yeah, I think a couple of people also stopped in and left. I can't find the names anymore. But I hope it was worth your time. Enjoy the rest of your evening, morning, afternoon, wherever in the world you may be. Bye, everyone. Bye. Rotimi.